Welcome to this Django video. So in this video, I'm going to demonstrate and I'm going to show you how you can download and install Django on a virtual environment using PowerShell. Previously, I've made a video on how you can install a virtual environment and create a virtual environment using a Windows terminal. So you need to check the link is in the description below. You need to check that video and watch it so that you can cope up with this video. So in this video, we're going to actually install a Django on a virtual environment and create our first application in Django. So if you are new to this channel, please make sure to subscribe, like and share these videos, and please help me to reach 1000 subscribers for the first time to promote my content. This video is the beginning of a new journey where we are going to develop web applications using Django web framework, and we are going to make a lot of videos, and I'm going to actually teach you how you can develop web applications and how you can deploy them using the Django web framework, and this is going to take you and your skills to another level. So without wasting much of your time, let's get started. So what I've done is creating this folder projects, and you can see inside this folder called projects there's nothing. So what I'm going to do is to open PowerShell inside this folder. So type PowerShell here, and you can see that PowerShell is opened inside this project folder. I'm going to create a virtual environment using the terminal, using our command virtualenv or dependence which we've installed, and I can name it venv, and hit enter. You can see that the virtual environment has been created in this folder, right? Initially there was nothing, but now we have venv inside here. And the next thing we are going to do is to activate the environment using the command venv scripts activate. So previously when we were using the command prompt, sometimes you can see that it gives some error if you try to activate a virtual environment like this. This is why I like most to use PowerShell, because PowerShell is a bit flexible than the Windows command prompt, and in this case I'm using Windows operating system. So let me hit enter here. Okay, you can see we are getting an error says unauthorized access. Why is it so? It's because PowerShell by default restricts the execution of scripts inside PowerShell. So we have to set the restriction to unrestricted for the particular moment. So let's close this PowerShell and try to open it and run PowerShell as an administrator. Run as an administrator here and say yes, right? So inside this, we are going to let's initially get the execution policy in here, and if we hit enter, you can see that it's saying it is restricted. So let's set the execution policy to unrestricted here. Okay, and hit enter, and you can see these prompts. You can simply say yes to all by pressing A, the caps A, as you can see in my response here, and then hit enter. And if we try to get the execution policy, it's all set. And if we try to get the execution policy, you can see now it is unrestricted. So we are going to close this administrator PowerShell and reopen our PowerShell inside our folder here. And after having this, we can try to activate again using env scripts and activate. Hit enter. You can see now the virtual environment is now activated inside our PowerShell. And the next thing we are going to do is to install Django using the pip dependency, pip install Django here. Sorry, I have Django, and hit enter. Wait for it to actually collect the packages using an internet. So you need to have an active internet connection for you to be able to install Django in this case. So you can see that it's now installing Django inside our virtual environment. And this Django will be independent of our global system, and it will belong to the virtual environment in which we are installing it. So this is what you need to do if you want your projects not to break. So this is a mini Docker, sort of. The virtual environment is a mini Docker which is going to keep the dependencies to a specific virtual environment for a specific project. And now we have successfully installed Django, and you can test by running this command Django admin, and the version of Django we have installed here. You can see we are getting 5.2. So this means that Django was successfully installed. Okay, so after having this Django running, we are going to start our project using the Django admin. So you can write Django admin start project, and in this case let's put it as hello world. Start project and say hello world, right? And you want to start it in the current folder, so you can put this period here and hit enter. Wait for it to be created, and it's now done. So if you go back into the projects folder, we had the venv folder only, but now we have a hello world and manage.py. So this is the first project in Django. We are going to actually write some logic inside there so that you can understand. But before going further, I want to show you the structure of a Django project. Here, this is draw.io software which I'm using to draw some diagrams or this representation you can see here. So the Django project goes like this. There's a main project. This is where the configuration files of the whole system resides. It resides in the main. And we have different apps or modules. So Django follows a modular approach in developing, or when you're trying to develop a web application. So an application is a module that is responsible for a certain business logic. For instance, you can have user management, you can have something like sales, or if it's a system. So this is the representation of a Django project. So for you to be able to understand better, let me have another drawn diagram here where I am representing a POS system. Right, this is the POS system, the main or the backbone of the system. This is called the POS system, where all the configurations resides. And after that, you can see that we have this module for user management. This actually deals with all user registration, password resetting, authentication, and authorization. This is where it is done. So it is an application itself. This application can be written once, and you can export it to different type of systems or different projects which you are working on. So this is modular approach, and the module can be independent of the main system. You can see it as we are going to develop. We also have the inventory module or inventory app, where you can actually have your inventory being taken on track or tracked, where you can actually monitor the inventory of a POS system or of a certain shop. And we also have the sales. So these are the types of apps in Django which you can deal with. So this is the representation which I wanted you to know first before we move on. And exactly, let's go ahead and have a view in our folder. You can see that we have a hello world. So this hello world, now the project which we have created, is the backbone of our project. If you go inside, you can see that we have URL settings, ASGI, init. This init is just to indicate that this is a Python package, okay? And the WSGI, these other files are mainly used for deployment, but as of now we are going to have these settings and URLs are the main file which we are going to work with. For instance, if you open these URLs, okay, sorry, let's go ahead and open this project first in our Visual Studio Code, our editor. Now I'm using Visual Studio Code because it's lightweight, so I can open CMD inside this and open Visual Studio Code in the current folder using the command code period and hit enter. This is going to open a Visual Studio Code in the current folder. So you can see now we have this Visual Studio Code with the current folder in the current folder, and here you can see Hello World, Virtual Environment, and Manage.py. Okay, let's go inside this Hello World, the settings which we are going to open, and minimize this. Right inside these settings, you can see that there are some documents, or this is documentation written here. It's not going to be executed, but we are importing path and we are setting the base directory of our project, and then we have a secret key for our Django project, and we have set the debug to true. You can see this comment saying security warning, don't run with debug turned on in production. Okay, and the next thing you can see the allowed hosts. This is mostly used when you are trying to access the backend or this system when using a front-end framework or library like React or Angular. So next you can see we have installed apps. This is the applications. As we were discussing that apps in Django are mainly modules. So these are the modules being registered to a Django project. We have the admin module, which you are going to see in the next lectures. We are going to access this admin business logic. The authentication business logic is there. The content types is like when we try to return JSON or when you are returning form data. And sessions, this is for session management, and messages, these are messages that can be displayed in the static files. We also have the middleware portion. We also have the root URL configurations. So the root URL are the URLs inside this. So this is being referred here when you say hello world.urls. This is the hello world.urls here. Okay, so we are referring to the package and then the Python file here. And next, we can go ahead. You can see the templates and some many more settings, and even the database settings are inside here. Okay, so this is basically what the settings are almost about. And you can see that when we create our own app, you can register it here inside the apps. And after registering the app, you can actually run it. So firstly, let's go ahead and activate our environment inside this PowerShell. And after activating it, we want to run our system so that you can see what exactly we have at this particular moment. So you can use Python manage.py and run server here. After running this, you can see some logs that are going to be logged in this console, and it is going to give us a URL in which we can access our Django project, right? You can see all this doesn't matter. 18 applied migration, these are the database settings, but what's important is this URL. So by default, Django runs on port 8000. So if you click or open the browser, this link in the browser, you can see that our Django is working successfully. So this is what you can actually see. So the install worked successfully. This means that we have successfully installed a Django, and we have successfully started a Django project or a Django project and run it. But there are no apps to show or the business logic to display. So what we are going to do is to create a new Python application here. So let's stop this. To stop the server, you simply need to hit Control plus C so that you can stop the server and be able to run some commands in the terminal. Okay, so let's go ahead and have a look also inside here. When we run our project, you can see there is a file called db.sqlite that was auto-generated. This means that by default, Django gives you the configurations of an SQLite database. This can be shown here. You can see this database is, the engine is backend Django.db.backend SQLite, and this is the database. So this is what is created based on these settings. Okay, and we also have this manage.py. This is mainly to manage the packages which you are going to run inside our Django project. So we are going to use this manage.py to create a new app. So we are going to say Python manage.py and start app, and the app, we can call it my app here, and hit enter. After running this command, you can open here our project, and you can see that my app is now created. But this my app, if you look inside, you can see that we have different types of files than the files in the main project. Okay, here we have settings, URLs, and some sort of things. But inside here, you can see that we have admin, apps, models, tests, and views. So this admin is for accessing the admin side of our Django application. You are going to see this in action in the next lectures. The apps, this is simply the name of, or the configuration, or the name of this application is my app, as you can see. And you can also have the models. This model is a database configurations, or the database tables. We are going to discuss this in the next lectures. And here we have tests. This is for writing tests for our business logic. And the views, this is the business logic. So Django follows a pattern, or a design, a pattern called MVT. In other frameworks, they follow a pattern called MVC architecture. So in Django, we follow MVT, which stands for model, view, and template. So in Django, a view is the business logic, or in other languages, a view of Django is a controller. In other frameworks like Spring Boot and .NET Core, you can actually see that there is a bit of difference there. And the template in Django is the view of other frameworks. So the templates is the HTML. And this is the approach followed by Django, the MVT. So firstly, we are going to write our logic inside here for hello world. So let's remove this comment, and we want to import from Django.http import HTTP response here. Okay, after importing HTTP response, we want to just display hello world. So we can use a function, say hello here, and this takes a request as a parameter. We are going to discuss this when we are actually accessing the request, right? So request, and what we want to do is to return HTTP response with hello world inside. So this means that we are returning a string with hello world. So if you save, and this is the business logic we want to display on our browser. So let's go ahead and also make sure these configurations work. So we want to expose the URL, or the path for our Django project or for our application in the main configurations. So let's simply go ahead and copy these URL patterns here, and collapse the hello world app, and inside the my app here, you can actually create a new file called urls.py that matches the exact naming as the naming inside the main app configuration, the hello world. And let's paste this code here. Okay, let's remove this admin, because we are not going to use the admin inside here, but we're going to use only the path and URL patterns. And the path is going to be empty here. I can explain when it's running. And what do we want to do here? We want to import our views. So the views logic is inside our function is inside the views file, and we are trying to access it in a different file called urls.py. So we are going to say from the current folder that's what this period means. We're going to import and the views here. Okay, so after importing the views, we are going to remove this, and we want to call our view. So we can say views dot, what we want to do is to say hello, and this is all you need to configure in URLs of my app. So we have two different files called URLs inside the small application or the independent application, and inside the main configurations. Why do we need to maintain this? Because this application can be exported independently, and it should contain all the logic that can make it run with simplicity. Okay, so it helps to maintain the minimum configurations inside the main app in which you are going to have this application imported. Okay, so for instance, inside this hello world, we are going to import this my app firstly in installed apps. Okay, so you need to import it using the name my app like this, and put a comma, save this one. Here we have successfully set this application. Okay, and we are going also to need it inside here, the main URLs configurations. This is where we are going to tell that if you want to actually access the URLs from my app, where do you need to go? So the application, the main application, needs to go to this path, and we can put it as empty. And here, before, we need to import the include function that helps us to include the URLs from another file. So include, uh, let's say my app dot URLs here. Okay, so we have successfully set everything, and let's save it. Right, the next thing we are going to run this. Let's clear the screen first and run the server here. And after running the server, we are expecting to see a different output than what we have seen before. So let's open this inside the browser. You can see that initially when we ran it, we got this, but now we are getting hello world. Why? Because we have replaced this default return HTML or this default response, and we put our own response code hello world inside here. And if we go ahead and change the logic from these views and say, I am trying to do the best for a developer, and if you save this, you can see that our uh, Django server is going to restart by default. If you save this when the Django is running, you can see that it automatically refreshes. And if you go back to this and refresh in the browser, you can see the text which we have written there. So this is how you can actually set up the Django development environment. And in the next lectures, we are going to talk about all the functionalities from models, templates, and all developing the applications that can actually work a real world example application.